Why are we talking about late spring in September? Because on this day in 1949, Yasujirō Osu's film Late Spring was released. I personally got into Osu's films a few years ago now. I'd heard Mike Leigh talk about them, I think, and Mike Leigh is one of my favourite filmmakers ever. There's a certain similarity to Leigh's films. They are small stories, often domestic, often telling about everyday life. And I also think they play to a stereotype of the people. In Leigh's case, it's people usually around the London area. In Osu's films, it's people in post-war Japan. A lot of Osu's films are quite similar, really. Many deal in marriage and matchmaking. In terms of Late Spring, I love the thematic belief that marriage means a new life for the bride, but it also means the end of the life for a father. And these films make a lot more sense when you realise that Osu himself was a committed bachelor all his life, living with his mother, and I think he died just a few years after her. There is a scene in Late Spring that I absolutely love, and it really intrigued me when I first saw it. It basically involves the character of Noriko, the bride. She's looking at a vase. That's all this scene is. Initially, she seems very happy, but then when we look at her again, she's clearly visibly upset. And at this point, the camera cuts back to the vase again. Now, for me, the vase is a metaphor. It represents a still life, both figuratively and literally. It's a representation for Noriko of a stasis that is unattainable for her. Her life is moving on. It's probably moving on for the better, because she's getting married, but her life is still moving on. She cannot help but think about the life that she had with her father, that she is now about to leave behind. It's important too to remember that when Osu was making this movie, Japan was basically occupied by America after the war. And the American censors were very keen to show that the Western mentality was the mentality to have, which basically meant that anything approaching Japanese culture was verboten. What's surprising then is that the director manages to shoehorn in a very long scene of indigenous theatre, the No sequence. The American censors were absolute idiots when it comes to this movie. One of the sequences they particularly were against was the sequence in which Noriko visited her dead mother's grave in Kyoto. They viewed this as ancestor worship, which is very strange. I mean, is visiting your parents' grave, particularly on the eve of your wedding, such an anathema to American authorities? The censors also ensured that references to the still recent war were pretty much excised from the film. There's a sequence in which they visit Hiroshima, which originally had the father remark that it was devastated. This was changed to it was dusty. Also, Noriko's experience working in conscripted naval services during the war is reduced to just saying that she did forced work during the war. Perhaps the silliest problem that the Americans had here is the reference to Noriko's unseen beau as looking like Gary Cooper. They really had a problem with this until it must have been pointed out to them that that's actually quite flattering for the character, and then they let it pass. There's also a rather famous sequence in which the matchmaking aunt finds a purse in the street. Now, the American censors were very clear that what they wanted to see here was that she would return that purse to the police so that basically it could then find the owner who had lost it. Originally, Uzo wanted her to just pocket the purse. Now, the way they get around it is to have the father character keep reminding the aunt to take that purse into the police, which she keeps saying she will do. It's very clear that she won't, but obviously this appeased the censors somehow because somebody was telling her to get it to the police. Uso also cleverly highlights that they are living in an occupied country. There's a roadside signs that are basically written in English, which would suit American troops. There's also advertisements for Coca-Cola as well, something that the Japanese characters don't particularly enjoy. If you've never seen an Uso film, Late Spring is probably a really good place to start. I love these movies. They're very calming, perfect Sunday afternoon material, really. Enjoy.